Nancy Hughes was once a promising doctor, but her life changed overnight. After a tragic car accident that killed Eileen Smith, Nancy was blamed and sent to prison. Though many believed it was an accident, evidence suggested the brakes had been tampered with. Still, Nancy became the scapegoat. After her release, she was abandoned by her family, stripped of her medical licence, and forced to survive by working as a street cleaner. One night, while sweeping the streets, she was harassed by a drunk man. Just as things turned dangerous, a homeless man named Trent stepped in and saved her. Despite his ragged appearance, Trent showed her kindness, even buying her clothes and offering her a place to stay. That night marked the beginning of an unexpected bond. Trent treated Nancy with respect, bandaging her wounds, cooking for her, and giving her comfort when she had nowhere to go. For the first time since her mother's death and her wrongful imprisonment, Nancy felt she wasn't alone. But Nancy's past refused to let her go. When she visited her mother's grave, her estranged father confronted her, cruelly blaming her for the family's downfall. He accused her of ruining Hughes' group and mocked her mother's death, deepening Nancy's pain. Soon after, Nancy was lured into a business banquet under the pretense of retrieving her late mother's belongings. Instead, she was humiliated, forced to drink with investors. When she resisted, they tried to assault her, but once again Trent appeared. This time, his fierce warning made the powerful men back off. Nancy realised Trent wasn't an ordinary beggar. There was something deeper, something hidden in his identity. That night, Nancy collapsed from a drugged drink, and Trent stayed by her side, taking care of her until she recovered. Slowly, a fragile trust and companionship grew between them. Yet, life continued to test Nancy. At work, she faced endless humiliation, from her former classmates, who mocked her fall from a doctor to a waitress, to the powerful Smith family, who never forgave her for Eileen's death. They threatened her, demanding she kneel and apologise to Trenton Foster, the heir to the Foster family empire and Eileen's former fiancé. Despite the torment, Nancy remained resilient. She worked hard, endured insults and tried to rebuild her life. Through it all, Trent never left her side. He encouraged her, reminded her of her worth and shielded her when she was too weak to defend herself. But behind Trent's gentle care there was a secret. He wasn't who he seemed. Beneath the disguise of a homeless man, he carried power and influence, enough to pull down billboards, protect Nancy from the Smiths, and shake even the strongest families in the city. And slowly, Nancy began to realise the man she thought was just her saviour on the streets might be the only one who could change her destiny.
After collapsing from exhaustion, Nancy woke up in the hospital. There, she reunited with Kyle Jones, her former classmate and senior doctor. Kyle was surprised by how much she had endured, losing her career, her freedom, and even the ability to wield a scalpel. He offered comfort, and for the first time in years, Nancy felt the warmth of someone who knew her past without judgment. But Kyle's presence stirred unease in Trent, who had been quietly protecting Nancy all along. Trent claimed to be her brother, hiding his true identity. Beneath his ragged disguise as a beggar was a powerful secret. He was in fact Trenton Foster, heir to the Foster family empire, the same family that once stood against Nancy. Despite his hidden life, Trent cherished Nancy deeply. He cared for her like no one else had, buying her meals, protecting her, even making her laugh. And Nancy, scarred by betrayal and loss, began to realize her heart beat differently whenever he was near. But the Foster family had other plans. Trenton's grandfather demanded he marry Mary, a woman of suitable status. The family dismissed Nancy as unworthy, calling her a murderer, a disgrace. Trenton resisted, but the pressure was immense. To protect Nancy, he pushed her away with cruel words, pretending their relationship had been nothing but a game. Nancy was shattered. She gave up everything he gifted her and prepared to leave the country with Kyle's help, hoping to start over. Yet even as she tried to move on, fate kept pulling her back to Trent. She discovered that every time she had been humiliated, it was secretly him who had defended her, pulling strings in the shadows. Slowly, she realized that the man she thought had abandoned her had never once stopped protecting her. On the night of his supposed engagement, Trenton could no longer suppress his heart. He abandoned the ceremony, searching desperately for Nancy. Meanwhile, Nancy struggled between doubt and hope, torn by the lies and truths surrounding the man she loved. Finally, their paths crossed again. Trenton confessed his true feelings, not as a beggar, not as a wealthy heir, but as a man who had loved her through everything. He admitted his fear of becoming like his father, abandoned by love, but Nancy's unwavering presence gave him courage. Through tears and fragile smiles, Nancy accepted him, not for his power or family name, but for the gentle man who had once stood on a dark street corner and saved her life. For the first time in years, she felt safe in someone's arms. And for Trent, who had spent his whole life hiding behind masks, Nancy became his truth, the one person he could finally trust with his heart. Their story was no longer one of survival, but of redemption. A fallen doctor and a hidden heir, two broken souls who had found healing in each other.